Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're here today to discuss this Sunni opinion on organ transplantation. Before we start, I just want to introduce our guest today. This is Maulana Muhammad Ibrahim Saab, and he's an academic researcher and an imam in a masjid from Yorkshire. And inshallah, he's very knowledgeable on these issues. What we want to do is, before we actually go into talking about fatwa, there's a few terms that we're going to be using. And I would like a little bit of explanation in these terms, because then the viewers inshallah can benefit, because we're going to be talking about in a bit of detail, and it's a good idea to actually explain what these terms are. So the first term I would like explaining, please, Manan Sahab, is DCD, which is the circulatory death.
Yes, like you said, what we want to do is to express evaluation of the written piece of work, a Sunni opinion on organ transplantation, and it does include some terms within this writing. The main point is that within this country, all Muslims need to opt out, not to allow their organs to be taken out of their deceased body, not the inheritance, and also the person itself should not allow. That's the main point. And one of the terms that I use is circularity death, okay, and also I think so if we use these terms, motul dimagh,
Motul qalb.
Motul qalb.
Motul qalb for this.
Yes. So what it means, dimagh ka mar jana, yes, qalb ka mar jana. So there's two type of death, medical death, that are applied within NHS and within these European countries.
So brain death and circulatory death.
Circulatory.
So the brain death is called motul dimagh.
Motul dimagh.
And the heart death is called motul qalb.
Motul qalb. These are two important. Now, what does it mean, motul dimagh? It means when a doctor declares that the brain is dead, blood is circulating, person is breathing. Yeah, we can see his head is breathing voice. Yes, it was there, but his brain is dead. Okay, the signs of life still exist. You know, just like our focus said, when a child is born and we say that we call him alive. All that does exist.
Right.
But still, medically, he is a dead person.
So if a person was pregnant,
yeah,
they can keep that person alive until they give birth.
They can never birth.
But medically, they'll be dead.
Medically, if a person is pregnant and the brain is dead, they can declare that this person is dead, and it's not going to go against the law of the state.
Right.
Because the law of the state suggests that you need to find the cause of a death. It can't be caused by anyone. So, motul dimagh means the person is dead. After that, anything is going to happen, that's not going to be the cause of a death, because the death already exists.
So if the person has motul dimagh,
Yes.
and the signs of life in the body,
Yes.
yet they've declared him medically dead,
Yes.
and they can take the organs out after that,
Yes.
it's not the fault of the doctors.
It's not the fault. And that's what they do. That's what they do. What we say, is that a death or not?
Okay.
Yes. Medically, yes, that is a death.
Okay, so before we get to
that's one type of a death. The other model is circularity. What means that the heart does not function. It's a malfunction of the heart when it does not operate at all.
So the heart
is not circulating. The circulate just stops.
So there's other signs of life.
Other sides of life, still person is his life down here.
So he may be on a machine.
He may be on a machine, or the machine has just recently removed. So the doctor can't declare that this person is dead.
And are these points reversible?
Yes, yes. If there are any other factors that are being used, then the life can't come back into that deceased person.
So if they declare medically dead,
that's what it means. Medically dead means either the brain dead or the heart dead. Put it in a simple version.
Right.
Yeah.
And
brain
death.
Yes.
Shari'ah death.
Shari'ah death is waltafatis saqu bisaq. Okay, where you have your feet and they've been twisted over, or the nose, it becomes like nakhle munkair. You know what nakhle munkair is? There was one Badawi. Okay, so he was having a rest. He goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm having a rest." Nakhle munkair. So he showed him through the practice, and he said, Nakhle munkair. You know, when there's a palm tree, when it's dead, what happens to it? It's dead, it falls down on one side, it drops down on one side. That's a Nakhle munkair. Yes. So when the nose becomes Nakhle munkair, when it twists towards the one side, so there's no other signs of a life.
So
Your eyes are left open. Eyes are left open. Nose twists down. No breathing at all.
the body's cold.
The body becomes cold. Yeah, all these signs. So there's no doubt left and anytime. This is what we call basically the traditional method or a natural method. Okay.
Working out if he's
Working
dead.
out. So there's no philosophical, and that's what it means. And really, according to the Sharia, is a separation of a soul from the body. Separation, or saying less connection of a soul within the body, because after the death we still believe that there is a connection between the soul and the death. Yes.
And organ transplantation after this point
Yes.
can really be done. Or
Well, if somebody, when there's a Shari'ah death, if the Shari'ah symptoms do exist, and then after that, if the deceased person is caught up and his organs are being taken out, they're not reusable at all. So if there's a Shari'ah death, nobody can use these organs. Simple as that. Yeah. So Maut al-Dimagh, that's the time when they take this. So if somebody has given a concept that his parts can be given to the person when there's an organ transplantation, allowance of organ transplantation is given to that person, it can be the case that his parts of body will be taken while he's alive.
according to the Sharia.
According to the Sharia, he will be alive. It can be alive. And that's what happens within the medical death.
Yeah.
So for those people, it's very important. They said, okay, we're going to give our organ. When we are decided, we can reuse our part. That is the second issue. First issue is, when are your parts of the body going to be taken out?
Right. So in the UK,
In the UK,
it's taken out before Sharia death.
well, it's taken out before the Sharia death. So make sure, okay, don't go into this opinion. Oh, the majority of ulama said you can take out. The Moroccan ulama have said, Arab ulama have said organ transplantation, and the Sunni opinion organ transplantation. Yes, you can't do it. Or using the qiyasat and fast that we look into those areas and misinterpretation from the ibaras. That's a separate issue. The question is, when a person is alive, yes, do you want to cut your body? Do you want to give your parts away? Yes. So that's what's happening.
Okay. And just a few things. You used a few terms like nusus
Yes.
and ibarat. And
Yes.
so if
So
you-
nusus means any holy script, words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the verse of the Quran, Qurani ayats or a hadith. We use the word nusus.
and ibarat.
And ibarats are the phrases, just sentences which are used from the fuqaha, from other ulama. So we will refer to them as well in our explanation down here.
And just to make it a bit more clear,
Yes.
the word fuqaha,
Yes.
obviously we understand that in our terms, but
Yes.
to explain it a bit.
They are the deep interpreters of the hadith and the verses of the Quran. Yes. So there's one surface interpretation, which is called Ashab al-Zawaid, and one is a deep interpreters. So when we say, when the fuqaha is those scholars, sound scholars who are the deep interpreters of the verses and of the hadith.
Are they an authority in these regards?
Yes, they are the authority. No one can understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended to say, but only Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam do understand what Allah has said. And the second authority is the fuqaha. So if we want to follow that, what does Allah want from us? It's only the fuqaha who can give us this recommendation. This is what Allah wants you to do.
In regards to this opinion,
Yes.
if you just put it to one side for a moment,
Yes.
what is the current opinion of the Ahnaf and the Hanafi scholars?
Unanimously, you are not allowed to cut your body when a person is dead. You're not allowed to take any parts out of the body. You're not allowed to restore those parts. Basically, you're not allowed to use a deceased person as a scrap car or as spare parts.
So once you die, you have to bury them. And
This is wajib, compulsory, that every every part of the body needs to be returned to its original purpose, to the earth.
So, Jazakallah Maulana Sahib, you've explained the main parts and the terminology. Inshallah, in the next video, we will go on to talk about the actual fatwa in itself. Jazakallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we're going to be discussing a fatwa written by Mufti Zubair book called A Sunni Opinion on Organ Transplantation. It was written for the NHS, and there are many issues regarding this fatwa, and we want to have a little discussion with Maulana Sahib today, inshallah, in regards to this.
Maulana Umair Sahib, within this gathering, inshallah ta'ala, we'll have a couple of clips, so we will request our audience to follow up our clips regarding this issue. Within this first clip, we will explain what do Muslims need to do within the UK and in European countries. What is the Sharia guidance for them? Also, we will discuss what is the opinion of other scholars, that includes Ahnaf, Malikiya, Hanabila and Shawafi regarding organ transplantation. And the third issue we will discuss is what is the real opinion by the author explained within his writing, A Sunni Opinion on Organ Transplantation. So inshallah ta'ala, we will highlight all these issues within this our discussion.
Okay, so to start off with, Maulana Sahib, if you can go through why this fatwa is an issue for us living in the UK.
First of all, before we address this issue, we would like to explain and express to all our viewers, we as Muslims need to opt out from giving our organ transplantation. It is compulsory upon us that we make a will or we inform NHS that we should not give organ transplantation. We should not donate organ transplantation after the death. So we all unanimously need to take this opinion into consideration. So that is the real theology within the UK. Now, regarding organ transplantation, what is the issue? So the issue is that first of all, the deceased person's body is going to be cut off. It's going to be split, it will be cut off. Then the organs will be taken out of the body, then they will be restored, and then they will be reused by any other person. So first of all, down here is the issue isn't using the deceased person's organs. The main point down here is it allowed to cut off a deceased body. Now, regarding organ transplantation, what does the ulama suggest? Well, all the Ahnaf unanimously has given this fatwa, and it's their opinion that we are not allowed to cut the deceased body. We are not allowed to take the parts out, and we are not allowed to reuse them, and we're not allowed to restore them for this purpose. The other issue is, can you use those parts? That's a separate issue. First of all these elements have never ever been allowed by any of the Ahnaf. However, there are other scholars from other countries like Morocco and also Saudi and Arab ulama, and they belong to Malikiya, Hanabila, Shawafi. They have allowed to reuse organ transplantation and organs from other deceased. That's the current position down here. The third issue what we need to explain, Maulana Umair Sahib, is that I said unanimously within this country, even according to the author of Sunni Opinion Organ Transplantation, no one is allowed.
So the author doesn't allow it?
No, it isn't allowed. That is a misconception, as misinterpretation that exists within the society. Unanimously, nobody is allowed to take parts out of a deceased body. Organ transplantation is not allowed. However, there is a difference. According to the majority of the Ahnaf, all the Ahnaf is not allowed for different purpose. And according to the author of Sunni Opinion Organ Transplantation, according to him, is not allowed for other person, other reasons. Yes. So the reason is different, and we will address this. what is happening that this Sunni opinion organ transplantation is used as a fatwa, that is an allowance that we do not need to opt out.
Yeah, because on the website it looks like that you should donate your organs.
You should donate your organ, and you can't donate your organs, and it's but the issue is down here, like I said, according to the Ahnaf, you are not allowed to give an organ for different reason. According to the author of Sunni opinion organ transplantation, it's not allowed for a different reason. But now the question is there any difference between the majority of the scholars and this new, which is considered as a new written piece of work? Is there any difference or not? Yes, there is a difference. And the difference is that this writing suggests that it can be allowed, organ transplantation, where the Ahnaf unanimously claim, and their verdict is you are not allowed. You can't cut the body, you can't take the parts out of the body, and you can't restore them for this purpose. This is the main difference.
Yeah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. After the first video, alhamdulillah, we highlighted a few issues that we're going to go over. In regards to the reasons that we said that the first, the Ahnaf that have given opinion previously, they've highlighted certain reasons for why organ transplantation is not permissible, and this fatwa is highlighting other reasons for why the organ transplantation is not permissible, and it suggests that it may be permissible for organ transplantation. So these issues that we're talking about, if we can highlight these issues and actually go into detail now as to what these reasons are.
Yeah. So first of all, as we have explained in our first video, what do Muslims need to do? They need to opt out. It's not it's guna, it's sin, it's haram. Okay? And if they are aware that after 2020 that deceased person's body will be cut off and his organs will be taken out, it is haram. It's not allowed to do that. It will be a sin.
So after 2020,
yes,
it's going to be mandatory.
It's mandatory.
If you haven't opted out.
Yes. So that is what every Muslims, okay, within this UK needs to do, and that is a unanimously according to the Ahnaf.
So it's a serious issue.
Yes.
Very serious issue.
It's very serious issue. So you cannot cut the body. Yes, you cannot cut the deceased body. You cannot take the parts out. You cannot give as a hadiyah. You cannot sell them. Any form of transaction cannot be carried out.
Even the inheritors can do it.
Even the inheritors they cannot do out. They have no. That is the unanimously. That's the fatwa is. Okay, but we said unanimously. And it may be argued that according to the writing of a Sunni opinion organ transplantation, this allows people that you can give the organ transplantation out. I said according to this writing as well, you're not allowed.
So it hasn't been made clear.
Yes, anyway. So like the first opinion is that the parts of the body cannot be used as the spare parts. It cannot, the human body cannot be used as a scrap yards. You can take them out and save them. Spare parts. This type of ideology does not exist at all. It will be haram. But when I say this, that according to the Sunni opinion organ transplantation, according to them, it's not even allowed. Why isn't allowed? Because there are two types of deaths which is applied. There are two types of paradigms and models that are applied within the current medical when a person is a deceased person. One of them is mautud dimagh, means the dying of mental. Mautud dimagh.
Brainstem death.
Brainstem death.
Brainstem death. Yeah.
Another was mautul qalb, when the heart dies.
So circulatory death.
Yes. So both of these are now, there are terms used for this. Mautud dimagh and mautul qalb. There are terms used within it. So most likely, if somebody is going and reading those terms, you're not going to understand them. There are still hearts.
Does he use DCD?
Yeah, there are all these type of terms, and that's one of the things. Somebody is going to read this, and they're not going to understand because it's. And we will explain in our evaluation and the assessment of this writing that. On what level does it fall down to? On one of the fall down of this is thus there's no explanation, no definition of terminology, nor they are referenced. So mautul dimagh ya mautul qalb. Now either assume as mautul dimagh, mautul qalb, and in both of these two type of deaths, according to the writer of a Sunni opinion organ transplantation is not allowed to give and take the organs out of a deceased body.
So for these two deaths, circulatory death and brainstem death, you cannot give the organ.
You cannot give them. What the Sunni opinion organ transplantation argues is that it needs to be a Shari death.
Oh, so it needs to be a Shari death, not
Shari death, not Motul Dama, no Motul Kal.
So Shari death.
It needs to be a Shari death. Now the question is, if you apply the Shari death, nobody's going to take the transplantation of the organs out of the deceased body because they can't be used again. So that's what's been missed out. I don't know why the NHS has used this, as a Deobandi. First of all, it cannot be a Deobandi. We will discuss this in and also it's not a representation of a Sunni opinion as well. We will discuss these ideas. What we're trying to say is, unanimously, even according to the Sunni opinion organ transplantation, you're not allowed to give any parts of body out to anyone.
So this Shari death point, did he make it clear in his conclusions?
No, that point isn't made clear in his conclusion, and like I said, there's all terminology used down here. What we say that if anybody is given his parts of body based on this opinion, he's not acting on this fatwa, he's not acting on this guidance. Okay, and also within the interview that was being offered by the author of the Sunni opinion organ transplantation, this differentiation was not declared, it wasn't explicitly explained, and it's been misinterpreted. Yes, it's been used, okay, organ transplantation is allowed. So what we're trying to say down here is, according to the Ahnaf, the majority of now, besides the Sunni opinion organ transplantation, is not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Because of dignity. Why is it allowed? Because you can't cut the deceased person. Why you not allowed? Because the tasarruf transaction is allowed. Why you not allowed? Everything is a degeneration down here.
So
okay,
it goes
it's against the nusus as well. For those reasons, for the unanimously of the all Ahnaf, which hasn't been contradicted yet, for those reasons it's not allowed. But for the author of Sunni opinion organ transplantation is not allowed within UK, also America, Canada, and all these European countries, because the death model which is applied, which declares the person is dead, the criteria which is used by a medical doctor to assert that this person is dead is either motul dima or motul kal. And according to the author, you cannot cut the body, you cannot take any parts out, you cannot carry out any organ transplantation.
So the 1995 fatwa and the 2000 fatwa that was given.
Yes.
In regards to this, has the author mentioned any points?
Yes, inshallah ta'ala, we will discuss these points out in our following videos.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So alhamdulillah, we've had a quite good conversation, discussion about the many issues that we've discussed. What we can understand from this critically is the fact that you can't give your organs in this country, especially because you're alive, and the fact that you're naturally, in terms of natural sense, you may be medically dead, but in a term of natural sense, you're still alive.
And Islamically?
And Islamically as well, you're still alive. So the fact that you're giving your organs at that point,
and even according to that, even if it's totally dead, you still cannot give them.
And if you're totally dead, you still cannot give them.
That is the ruling. That is the word of the God. खुदा का ये हुक्म है, पैगंबर अलैहि सलाम का ये फरमा, उसके मुताबिक देना नाजायज.
So it's not permissible to give.
Not permissible at all.
Quran and
Absolutely not permissible at all.
Okay, so in regards to the actual evaluating the fatwa,
yes,
if you can go through some of the points in terms of content, the structure.
Yes. So inshallah ta'ala, on the writing Sunni opinion on organ transplantation, we will offer our reflection on this piece of writing, and we can categorize it into three main areas: the structure and the content of the writing, and also on the conclusion. And we will address different issues. First of all, like we said, we will the structure, I think so, we will go right at the end, but just on the content of
The opinion.
on the opinion and or a meaning, what's included within this brief writing. So this discussion is going to be long. So we will be going about 13, 14 points we're going through. So we will request our audience and those brothers and scholars who are going to join with us to wait for all the opinions. Some points may be a bit heavy because they are going to be related to the fuqaha and the terminology. We will try to simplify it. That's one of my things. So I try to simplify things. I don't leave it to the interpretations. Yes,
inshallah.
And I do hope that I will take my audience with me. I don't want to leave them behind. When we are on a journey, we want to travel together. Inshallah ta'ala. So first of all, let's look at the content of the material of this piece of writing. So first of all, the issue is regarding the label, a Sunni opinion on organ transplantation. Okay, so we would like to offer reflection on the label, a Sunni opinion on organ transplantation. Firstly, the author has discussed within his writing that the fatwa is a personal opinion. That's the definition provided by the author. Okay, what is a fatwa? What is a mufti? Okay, at the moment, there's no definition at all. When I mean mufti, what the concept what we use within the public, that's a different issue. We will come that way if we come to it. Yes, but anyway, the definition given by the author is the fatwa is a personal opinion.
Right.
It cannot be considered as an ijma.
Right. A consensus.
It cannot be considered as a consensus.
Right.
Now, this issue has been raised on objection when he carried out a comparison with other fatwas in 1995 and 2000. Because in 1995, that fatwa was written by maybe non-Ahnaf scholars.
Right.
Like we said in one of our first clips, that what is the current ulama's opinion? We said majority of Ahnaf say it's not allowed. All the Ahnaf say not. Ghair Ahnaf, some have allowed it.
So Ghair Ahnaf is non-Ahnaf, the people who are not Hanafis.
Non-Hanafi, they have allowed. Like Shafi, Hanbali, Maliki. I don't know how much they are, but over the world and other ulamas, they have allowed it. But when we say to the Ahnaf, none of the Ahnaf. And yes, the leading figures of the Ahnaf are the subcontinent ulamas. Even within the Arab scholars, there are many Ahnafs. You have in Syria, you've got great Ahnaf scholars. None of them are allowed.
Right. So,
Yes. So when we come into the content, according to the author of Sunni opinion, he explains that the fatwa is a personal opinion.
yeah.
And in 1995, he offered an objection on those fatwas that they have considered that is an ijma.
Right.
So the criticism offered by the author of this is, how can they call their own piece of writing, their own opinion as ijma, when that is a fatwa, and a fatwa is a personal opinion. So for them to say that this is ijma, when those scholars are imposing their opinion on the whole ummah, okay, that cannot be ijma. And this is a correct objection offered by the author of this opinion. But down here, this piece of objection and criticism is worthwhile noting down here, because as 1995 discussion or opinion is an opinion, it's not consensus and it's not ijma, then why a Sunni opinion organ transplantation is labeled with this one?
So he's labeled it a Sunni opinion himself.
A Sunni opinion.
And he shouldn't have called it a Sunni opinion.
So it's not a Sunni opinion. A Sunni opinion. Yes, it can be argued. Yes, it's the article is but it should be one of the Sunni opinion.
Right.
And why I am raising this label on the issue of the label is because it is not being declared. It's by the author. That is only my opinion. Yes, interview, he just said it's my opinion. in the verbally has discussed that. But the title totally misleads the people. And secondly, those scholars that this work has given towards them, they also considered it that this is the opinion of the whole Deobandi ulamas.
Right. So it's a representation
It's considered a representation of the Deobandi ulama.
when it isn't.
When it isn't. We can't say it's a one opinion,
And in terms of
one individual opinion by the... So there's no declaration that is a consensus or is ijma. But yes, this label serves to provide the interpretation for consensus. Likewise, as it's interpreted by the readers, my reflection is that there is some sort of confusion down here.
Right.
If it's declared, yes, as an interview, it's my own opinion, it'll be much more clear. Or we say, well, according to the author of a senior opinion, this is the issue. Things would be much more clear. So there's ambiguity within piece of writing. So that's the one element of
reflection.
and we have raised this issue because it's right at the beginning. It's right at the... So within the content, the one issue is the label, issue of the definition of the fatwa, and how it's applied towards this writing. This discussion covers all these various aspects regarding this writing. So our reflection links to this, that when there is an issue and it leads to complexity, it requires further clarification rather than broadcasting and interpreting with our self-understanding.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Alhamdulillah, we went over the first point in terms of the labeling of this fatwa, the way that some scholars may have interpreted it, and at the same time how it may be misleading by calling it a Sunni opinion, and that some people might think that this is a majority opinion within the Ahnaf or the Deoband scholars. Now within our reflections, inshallah, I hope we can start to talk about whether it's compulsory to cure illnesses and to get treatment for illnesses.
Yes. Yes, Maulana Sahab, like we said, it's not a suspicion, but it's been interpreted as a consensus. And we're not imposing our idea into something. I think so when there's misconceptions, then some clarification is very important. So we'll go on to the second point, which is part of our reflection. And that is that if there is illnesses, is it wajib?
So compulsory.
Is it wajib to have a cure, go for the cure of illnesses or not? So that is within this content, within the content of this writing, this second point needs to be raised. And the author of a Sunni opinion on organ transplantation explains that it's not compulsory at all. If there is illness, and to cure that illness, you cannot call it. Okay? But later on, at the beginning, right at the beginning, the author says it's not compulsory at all. And some examples have been given. And then at the end, it does suggest, yes, in some areas, it is compulsory. Now, it isn't much.
Right, so there's a contradiction there.
Contradiction within the fatwa. One opinion, either it's compulsory or not compulsory. Keep in mind, if it's compulsory, that means that a person will be sinful.
Right.
Those people who are responsible for that person, if they don't carry out any cureness, they are going to be sinful. And it can lead to huge amount of expenses that can, and obviously the treatment that is available is to allopathic type of cure, and they are very expensive.
Right.
So don't rely only on an NHS when you want to value the price of it, it's much higher.
Right.
Yes. So that's the only available treatment within these European countries and in our own back homes as well. It's very expensive.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what it is that the author suggests it's not compulsory at all. Later on, it does suggest yes, it is compulsory. So down here, the reflection is the position that is understood from this piece of writing isn't cure at all. It isn't cautious. It's a ghair muhtat position by the author.
So it's a bit careless in the way that he put these 2 points.
Yes, there's a contradiction.
Right.
So, I mean, it's up to and that's important because we will discuss this, okay, within our further analysis of giving allowance of just to reuse somebody else's part of body. This point is going to be raised later on. So that is the second point that we wanted to include within our reflection.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So if we can go on to the third point of reflection, inshallah.
Yes, within our third point of reflection is relating to the issue that the author of Sunni opinion organ transplantation have explained different type of transplantation that occurs. So, for example, if a person's own parts are used on the own person or somebody else or from some other animals, or they are just manufactured. Yes.
So stuff like xenotransplantation,
synthetic, homotransplantation. This all is jargon of terminology. So put it in simple words, these are the different methods. When it is decided, well, this organ is not going to work, you need another organ. So simple ways, either use your own organ, somebody else's organ, maybe another animal's organ, or maybe just another imitative type of organ, which will be made a replacement type of organ. Yes, that will be used. So these are, with the istiqra, if we go, these are only the possible ways. Yeah. Or the first is try to repair that organ, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the first step. So if the organ isn't repaired, so it's a replacement. Replacement by your own, by other person, by other animal, or just manufactured. Yes, another product has been made, you know. So, these are the possible ways. And what's important down here is that using other person's organs, traditionally, ulama and fuqaha has prohibited this. They did not give an allowance.
So if we're focusing on using other people's,
Which is called homotransplantation. And the author does explain down here within his structure that, for example, if you use somebody else's hair, if you use somebody else's nail, it's not permissible at all. Normatively, it's normatively impermissible. Okay, where other fuqaha have given allowance, that's the important point. It's not the Ahnaf, it's ghair Ahnaf.
Oh, so the non-Ahnaf might have given permission, but the Hanafis
like
have never given permission.
So if we do say you can't use somebody else's organs, what are we doing down here? We're going on maslak ghair. You're using your own fatwa. You're not going to according to your own mufta bihi ibarats. Mufta bihi conclusions, and you're taking an opinion from the other maslaks.
So just to expand on that slightly.
Yes.
So it's important that when you're writing a fatwa,
yes,
as a mufti, that you stick to your own principles.
And you have to give the answer. You have to give the answer which is mufta bihi in your own principle.
Okay, so can you explain what mufta bihi means?
So mufta bihi means, yes, you have your ulama, the scholars, whichever fiqh they have different sayings, okay, different aqwals, different interpretation. So whichever is considered that, yes, this is the strong opinion, that will be given, okay?
So the strongest and relied upon
the
opinion.
standard and reliable and verified opinion, yeah, which is verified by the sound scholars
Of your own
yes
maslak.
maslak. The Mufti is responsible to give from his own maslak that opinion.
So you cannot take it from
You cannot take him others.
All right.
Okay, because that is also khida, is haram. So you can't use somebody else. It's only when there is a need and you have to declare it.
Right.
It's only in the situation of istirar. When there is istirar, when you have no option at all, then you go to the other person's opinion.
Right.
Okay, so down here, the critical element within this reflection is if we are using other people's elements, according to the Hanaf, it's not permissible. Okay, and those traditionally, if who did allow it, they are not the Hanafs, and if we do, we are taking fatwa of other. So as a Mufti, it's compulsory. He's obliged to give his own opinion. Okay, only when this is there, and he has to declare that.
Right.
Why? It's because it's a deceptive approach. When a person is coming towards you, he wants you, yes, you are a Hanfi, and you have to give me the muftabi call according to this. He doesn't want to know your own personal interpretations.
Right.
And it's been written by all, we don't want to go into that detail. So that is, so if we are saying that, yes, you can use other people's organs, what do we have to say?
You have to declare it.
You have to declare it. And we say only in the situation if you are in need. You've got no alternative, and in this situation we are taking somebody else's opinion, then it's permissible.
So you have to declare the opinion.
You have to declare the opinion. It's not an opinion. Yes. So that is if it's only available option down here, but it's only in the halat istirar. On the other hand, when it comes to use the person, or down here the way it's been broadcasted, or the way people are talking, yes, you can use the person's organ. You can cut the body off. Like I said, there's two issues down here.
So there are separate issues here.
Yeah, one is cutting off the body, which we will talk into our first thing. What is cutting off the body? Taking the parts out. One is the parts are available, organs are available, and you are using them for replacement.
Right. So one is actually doing the thing.
Yes, carrying out the whole process.
The whole process, and
then you've stored them there,
Right.
and then something is stored and you're taking now.
So that's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue. This issue is related to the second issue down there. When there's a spare part available and you are using somebody else, this is not related to the cutting of the body,
So
taking out the
just-
body, storing the body. That's
just
a separate
receiving
issue.
it.
That is just receiving. Yes.
So there is, in terms of just receiving,
Yes.
the ulama haven't given permission, but only in extreme need and when you've declared the opinion.
Yeah, but this is with Ahnaf, it isn't.
Even within the Ahnaf.
Ahnaf isn't. It's a ghair Ahnaf.
Right. It's not Ahnaf.
Traditionally, and that's been written within the as well. What we say is when this issue, is applied in an inaccurate way.
Right. So this whole process,
This whole process of applying,
it needs to be applied in the correct
in a
manner.
correct manner.
Can we link the compulsory argument here as well? That if you believe that it's compulsory to take the organs or not.
But that's why we come, like we said. Okay, if the organ is not working, is it wajib to replace that organ?
Right.
But that's where it comes. Yes. Remember, if you are replacing an organ, we will discuss that. What do you have to do? The person whose life he has to cut his own body. It's called ilaj bil kai. So ulama saying you're not allowed to use the cut your body only in the situation of istirar. And a lot of people totally do not allow that as well.
So we'll have to expand on the ilaj bil kai later on. Yeah.
So we will. So like we said, the issue clicks in down here, whether it's compulsory or not compulsory.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Munasir, if we move on to the fourth point in regards to the reflections.
The fourth point which we want to reflect is an opinion expressed by the author of a Sunni opinion organ transplantation, which is the issue of dignity, ihtiram. And what does that basically mean? Basically, it means that to use a deceased person's body wasn't considered as an ihtiram and as a dignity. And for this reason, it was prohibited. Now, the tradition has changed, the custom has changed. It isn't considered to defame anyone. So, the author argues that other ulamas did not allow the organ transplantation out of the deceased person was based on the issue of dignity, that if we did take the part, use the parts, then this is against the dignity of the deceased person. This was one of the main arguments. The author argues, now today within this age, it is not against the dignity.
So,
Put it in that sense.
So social norms
Yes.
try to
She said the social norms have changed. So it's a urf jadid, it's a new concept. Yes, it's a new norm that exists within the society. And because the norm has changed, then that means you can parts can be used down here. So we want to explore this issue down here. In other words, using human parts of the body isn't against his ihtiram,
against his dignity.
but it's part of an ihtiram, put it in that sense. We want to raise this issue for the one reason. First of all, dignity issue, like we said, one is always keep a different. One is using the part. On other is, where do you start from? You take a deceased person away, you cut the body off, you take the parts out, you store them.
And that's if they're deceased according to Islam.
If they're deceased, yes, you store them, and then we're using. Okay, so the dignity issue is only related to the final part. A part of a human body is there and it's being used by someone. Is that against the dignity or not? So the author argues that before it was against the dignity, now it isn't against the dignity. Now we want to expand on this issue down here. And first of all, why is it not a dignity? So the author argues, well, dignity is it depends on the interpretation what people, an individual have. So it is not a fixed thing, something as a dignity. And if people's perception do change, then the elements of dignity are going to change. Requirements of dignity are going to change. Put it in simple words, the author suggests to us that people's perception have changed regarding the dignity. Before, they thought cutting the body was against the dignity, taking out is against the dignity, using the parts against the dignity. Now the social norm has changed.
So like giving an organ
People's conception has changed. People do not conceive that against the dignity at all.
So it's like giving a gift to someone.
It's like just giving a gift. I've got this pen and I've given it to you. So if you are saying, okay, I've got some parts, I want to give them to you, it's just like we are carrying out normal exchange. That is what's argued by the author of a Sunni opinion organ transplantation. On the other hand, we do say, okay, if there is a new concept being derived from the people's perception, where is that dignity? Where is that urf? Where is that social norm?
What's the evidence for it?
Where's the evidence for it? Who considers? Still is a contested concept. Majority of all the Ahnaf say you're not allowed. All the scholars say you're not allowed. Why? Because it's against the dignity. Okay. Even non-Muslims, majority of non-Muslims do not allow this. They don't want their own body to be cut into the pieces. So where is this new concept that exists? Within in real world, on ground reality is it's still against cutting parts of the body is still against the respect of an individual. Okay, so where is this urf jadid? It does not exist at all. Cutting of the body, even if it's a live person, it's considered as a defect within the body. If one person is being offered a proposal or is being questioned, have you had any medical operations in your body? And he says, yes. They say, well, be critical about that person. This person is gone half. Okay, he's got stitches on his body. There's no plain body. It's a defect model. It does not respect. Even when it's a live person is carried out. Similar to this. So on live person, cutting the body, using somebody else's part is a defect model. It creates an air. Yes, it's never ever been respect. And also, same thing down here when we say about using other people's organs. So it's never ever been an element of a respect at all. So where is this urfi jadid? There's no new urf that's not been created at all.
If we go through the numbers, inshallah, from the NHS, in regards to, I think that will open up this issue as well.
Okay.
So we've got this document here, and this is also available from the NHS. This is the organ donation and transplantation activity figures for the UK for the last calendar year. And it says donors after brain death, there were only 962 last year. Donors after circulatory death or mortal qalb, 638. The total deceased donors was 1,600. The non-proceeding deceased donors was 680, and the living donors was 954.
Yes.
And there's 67 million people in the UK, and how many of them die every year?
Yeah. So what does that suggest? So let's expand onto it. When I say where is the evidence for it? When we say there's a new urf, new norm, okay, that's been created, where is it? Is it a common? The commons totally reject that idea. Like we said, other first totally reject it. So you can't say unanimously, all the non-Muslims say it is a respect. They still consider it as against the dignity. When it comes to the Muslim, all the Hanafi say it is against the dignity. Where's that urf? If you say it's only a specific urf, a specific norm, who is it? Is it the ulama? All the ulama still suggest it's against the dignity.
There's one more point as well.
Yes.
In regards to, opting out.
Opting out.
If it was dignity,
yes,
then why have they made it obligatory on everyone from 2020?
When there is a law, it means people do not want to do that. Yes, people have got resistance.
That's why they make the law.
So they make a law forcing people. Just like we have child acts. That means people are not respecting the child. Yes. And la taqdasakum la taqtulu awladakum. Sometimes you say, wala taqtulu awladakum. Is anybody going to slaughter his own child? Yes, it does exist even within this society. That's what the Quran says. The Quran is forever to the Qiyamah. So la taqtulu awladakum is very useful. Yeah, it can start from the basic point to the extreme point. So everything is included within the qatl. So the resistance of this data suggests there's no dignity at all. So there's no urf at all. And also we will expand furthermore. The author argues down here. Author argues that giving, these are the words, giving a donor is considered today as an ultimate gift. Wallahu alam, how can that be an ultimate? Is this something where does this ultimate gift exist? I would like to ask these authors, okay, go back to your back home. You've got a deceased person, you've got your brother there. Okay, you've got your own parents there. Okay, and those scholars who are saying it's a dignity. Will you allow all the people waiting for janazah? Don't do the janazah. Allow our person to go to a thana, go to a district and allow his body parts to be taken out and then bring it back and stitch it up and then we read janazah on that stitched body. Just say that. Just apply that, this theory within your society. Then we will say, is it an ultimate gift or not? Okay. Now, further expanding on this issue is, the author argues that kasru azmil mayyit ka kasri azmil hayy. Breaking a bone of a dead person is just like breaking a bone of a live person. Now, there's a misinterpretation we are given by the author, where the author said, when the action is with deliberate disrespect or ill intent, then this is disrespect. This is against the dignity. But if the person this means that if a person is breaking somebody's bone and his intention is to respect, then that is allowed. Do you consider this as a part of a dignity? So the author And those who have read this piece of article and they have written this, are well written, have they not looked at this point? Where the author is saying, well, if your intention is to show the respect, you can break the bond, whether the live person, whether the dead person. And if your intention is to defame, then this is ihanat. This is a misinterpretation. Allama Tibi didn't say, where is that if your intention is that ihanat, then it will be ihanat. And if your intention is respect, then it will be respect. This is baseless interpretation. This is assumption. This is not assertion. Okay? This isn't the right interpretation of the hadith. The hadith, all the scholars say, well, the purpose of this hadith is, as you have a respect for a live person, you have the same respect for the dead person, carrying out no difference at all. Now I ask you, Maulana Sahib, anybody is alive and you say, okay, I want to break his bone, I want to cut his body, and my intention is to show our respect. Is that going to be respect? Do you have these two type of categories where the intention is going to be respect, and if the intention is not going to be respect, do you have this category with the live person? If you do not have this category, this typology for the live person, then how can you have this typology for the deceased person? So this dignity issue which was raised in the interview is a baseless. It's against the fuqaha, it's against the hadith, it's against the nusus, it's against the ibaratun nas, it's against the interpretation offered by the shari'in and the commentators of the hadith. Therefore, I think so, there should be a rethinking going on. And especially, please, to the scholars, I urge all the scholars, read this part of the purpose. You've been teaching ibaratun nas, you've been teaching isharatun nas, you've been teaching dalalatun nas. Down here, the respect given to a live person as needs to be given, the same respect needs to be given to the dead person is understood by dalalatun nas. Something which is understood by dalalatun nas, where you don't need a qiyas at all.
So if you can just expand what
dalalatun nas is, you've said something, and from that, other person can take the interpretation without any deep understanding. So this part of understanding can be applied down here by everyone. By everyone. Range of, within the community, we have range of people with understanding. Everyone can interpret that. That we say, don't say oof to your father. What does that mean? Don't say oof to the father. Do something more harm. If you cannot say oof, never mind, you're going to hurt him physically. You don't need a deep interpretation to carry out a qiyas. That's what the Dalalatun Nas means. Same thing down here. Yeah, breaking the bone of a dead person is just as a breaking of a live person. Suggests to us, according to Dalalatun Nas, is qati. Yeah, is qati. Ihtaram is qati. Suggests towards to us that show the respect. Show the respect as you show the respect for the live person. So the issue of dignity, the two type of dignity, all this interpretation is best, and I think so we need to reconsider about this. And I do hope from the leaders, from the author, that they will rethink on this issue, on this interpretation, and on these words that have been used down here. I think so. Forget about taking to NHS down here. Forget about the hospital because the body is already there. We are talking down here. When they say it's only for the UK, this on the label, it's not for the UK. It's a Sunni opinion organ transplantation.
So it's very...
it's broad for everywhere. Yeah. That's why I'm not applying in the UK. I'm saying, okay, take it back to your home. Maulana Sahib, you take it back to your Hazro. Yeah, take it to your Daman. Take it to the Chad. Take it to the Mirpur. Take it to the Karachi. Yes, a person has died and your brother, you take it away. And you say, okay, let him come up. Let's take the parts out. Take the all major parts out. Azairas, you take them out, switch it and bring them out, we'll do janazah. Who is going to consider that? And he said, no. I had a good intention. Why? It's done by a surgical doctor, it's a medical doctor. So if he cuts it out, he's going to respect. And if a normal person cuts it out, it's a respect. They use the same blade. The iron is same. What you used to cut for the carpet, you want to cut the body of a human body?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Manan Sahib, we talked quite a bit about the human dignity argument. The fact that he's claiming, or the author is claiming, that is based on urf jadid, social norms, and that cutting the body does not have a negative effect on anyone's dignity after death. And in terms of the statistics, well, they don't match up in regards to his argument. Neither the Muslims nor the non-Muslims think of giving the organs nowadays as a thing of dignity, because if they did, they wouldn't have to make it compulsory from next year to do that.
Yes.
So in regards to this, it's very, very important that we do opt out and that we don't fall in the trap of thinking that it's actually a really good thing. It's not compulsory to get treatment done in these regards Islamically as well. So it's very, very important that we make sure that we opt out. And now on to the fifth issue.
Yes, so like we were saying that within our reflection, we included this point, the human dignity. Okay, and just to go through our points is that according to the author of Sunni opinion on organ transplantation, carrying out any surgical operation on a dead body isn't against its human dignity. And the qiyas analogy was given as on a live person. So on a live person, it is not a deliberate denigration. Okay, that's been argued by the author. So basically what it means is, if a person is ill and is gone down for an operation, we don't say that it's against his dignity. So if it's not against the dignity over there, it's not against the ihtaram over there, then if we do the same thing on a dead person, it's not against the dignity, it's not against the ihtaram. So we said this is a wrong analogy. We said qiyas fasid down here. First of all, when we carry out anything going out, it's still against the ihtaram. It's allowed when there is a need. And some ulama won't like that as well. Okay, if it's allowed and carrying out on the body, the process, the body becomes defect. And similarly, it is carried out. Why? Because for islahi badan. Because we want to repair that body. And for the purpose only in the situation when it's necessity. So we only carry out on the live person's body when there is necessity, and it is to correct and repair the body. However, having all these factors including, and still that body becomes a defected body. And we've explained that in our previous way. Do we carry out on the deceased body for this purpose? Is there a Islahi badan for that? No, it's not purpose for Islahi badan. Do we need to do that? No, it's not necessity to do that. So there's no necessity, there's no need for it. And it's not for the Islahi badan.
It's not for repairing the body.
So, yes. Okay. So it's the qiyas mal farik.
So just on this qiyas issue,
yes.
So if you just give a little bit of explanation on specific issues and common issues.
Yes. So down here, when we look at the purpose, we say, are these two things similar or different? We said these two are different. When we do a qiyas, we look at all the aspects as well. We look at the illate mu'athira and illate ghair mu'athira as well. Which are those elements that are going to affect within the qiyas and which don't. See, if you do an evaluation of these two areas, they're totally different. We can't use that for that purpose. And also, the other issue was being interpreted from this practice is that it's a deliberate, the issue of the deliberate. Kasru azmil mayyit, ka kasri azmil hayy. Yes. And over there is that if there's a deliberate, yes, attempt, then that's denigration. If there's not a deliberate, or it's for other purpose, and then this is not against the dignity. So what we're saying, it's against the Laradunas.
So just to summarize that.
Yes. So what they said, if you've got a good intention, you can break the bone. If you haven't got a good intention, then it's toheen. So we said, okay, provided this division. And then this interpretation leads to the hadith like it means kasru azmil mayyite ka kasri azmil hayy iza kana al kasru bi kasdil ihanate iza kana al kasru, if breaking the bone is with the intent of denigration, then it is tohin. Nobody has put this question. This is an extra adding words on the hadith. Yes. So this is not a mafhum mukhalif. It's not a mafhum muwafiq. Basically, it's not understood direct from the words. It doesn't go to the opposite when you take all these conditions out and then you create a meaning from there. It doesn't come under that category. This is adding up. And also all the shurrah hasn't mentioned this. And it's very surprising. One scholar was there and he goes, all this discussion is or mudallal. I said, what about the issue? How this issue of dignity has been concluded down here? And I said, or it's mudallal. Because Allama Tibi wrote this. Yes, I said, well, you've understood it's mudallal. So I'm just saying those people or those readers who are reading this, whether they don't understand or they do not understand the purpose of the writing, or we're just going over through the words. So within our reflection, which we have mentioned in the previous explanation down here, that the issue of dignity, what we're trying to say is that look, okay, we do carry out surgical operations on our body, and if it's having surgical operations on our body, then it can happen over the deceased body, over the dead body. We're saying there are two different qualities down here. And we don't say that is a dignity, that is because of ihtiram. When we say there's a istirar, when there is a need, do doctor tell you, okay, it's an operation? No, they put you on a time and a time and a time. You're in a waiting list and then you get that. And even that body still gets defected down here. So this explanation, this qiyas, it's a qiyas mal-farik, it's a qiyas ghair sahi, which is an incorrect analogy. And also, it's an incorrect interpretation of a hadith. And thirdly, it goes against the purpose of the hadith. Can you see what consequences have came this from this interpretation? That's what we want to highlight. And this is my opinion down here. And this is my reflection on these words. And really, like I said, إِذَا كَانَ الْكَسْرُ عَلَى قَصْدِ الْإِهَانَةِ, then it will be وَإِذَا كَانَ الْقَصْرُ عَلَى قَصْدِ الْإِكْرَامِ فَهُوَ الْإِكْرَامِ. هذا ليس بصحيح. Okay, that's what that is. You know, I mean, you can just to break the bone. Just look at the image. Just look at the impact, breaking the bone, cutting the bone. Okay, you see. Okay, how can that become an element of a respect? No, it isn't an element of a respect. It's only when there is a need to do so. A lot of people, what does the practice suggest to us? What does the people say? When there's an operation, people totally deny taking an operation. Yes, they will look for alternative. Yes, within our muqtadis, I can give you examples of many people. We don't want to go for an operation. We don't want to go on an operation. We don't want to go on an operation. It's not something a desired. Yeah, they only go, oh, how many du'as do we do for that person? Because, oh, I've done an operation. Look what's happened towards me. People be oppressed about, yes, it's becoming, like, just to do the ilaj, just for their cure. Can you see how people have phobia of this? And then from here, we bring a third point, that yes, there's a new urf down here, that it is considered as a respect. So we explain this in whose urf is it? Is it everyone's aspect? Obviously, that's against the badahat. Yes, we know common with a sense that's not the case. It's a contested concept. If we say within the Muslim, we know that's not the case. If we say, okay, in a specific type of people, still it isn't, whether it's in medical or whether it's the ulama. And urf should be mara al muslimuna hasanan fa hasan. Whatever Muslim thinks, and they assume, even the scholars today, why are they debating? The whole, like we say, unanimously, Ahnaf are in this opinion, it's against the dignity, against the day. Who are those? Those ulama, we call them, they are muftis. They are the fuqaha. Okay, they are looking at the elements and they are assessing and they are writing, and that notion is still there, that notion hasn't changed. And we can carry out a survey. And from a survey, it will critically outpoint this, that it's not on respect at all.
So now I want to the fifth issue that we were going to explain.
Yes, and we just like to say that these issues, page 38 and page 37, human dignity issue, has been discussed, and also the explanation by Allama Tibi with intention or not intention, that's discussed on page 50. So
you can have a look at it.
Yes. So those who do want to refer again to the actual reading, it will help them to understand when they get this explanation. Yes, and they can read through that, and also I think so if they give a second thought on the reading, they will understand it. Yes, in a deep way. So inshallah ta'ala, yes, for in this discussion we will end on this, and then we will go on to the fifth point in our next session, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we did a little bit of a summary, and we added a few extra points on the human dignity argument.
Yes.
If you can now move on to the fifth issue, inshallah.
Yes, Maulana Sahab, we will go on to the page 38 and page 41. We're gonna we're gonna reflect on a couple of points in those pages down here. And within our fifth reflection point, we would like to address down here when there is live neonate, meaning that there is a woman, she's pregnant, and she's passed away. And inside the body, that has a life, and there's a voice. Obviously, what do? There's a live person.
So there's a woman's pregnant, she passes away,
but the child is live.
There's a child inside. Yeah.
Yes, maybe this can happen. It's just a time of a birth, and woman passed away, and the baby is inside your life. What do we do in this situation? The person is dead. So within the Badai or Sanai, it says, if Akbar Ra'yi Hayyan, if the assumption is, most high assumption is that the Hamal,
the fetus
is alive, then we can cut the body and take the fetus out alive. Okay, so this is one of the juzi what our fuqaha has.
And it's in Badai Sanai
book down here, and it's been referenced within this
writing,
piece of writing. And the author of this piece of writing uses this juzi, this particular issue, saying that yes, if a woman in this situation, her body can be cut, then if we want to cut the body to take the parts out, then it should be correct.
So using qiyas
it's using a qiyas, looking at this juzi and the qiyas, and we're saying, okay, still down here we've got the issue, is qiyas mahal farik, it's a qiyas ghair sahih. So now when we said we are reflecting on the content on the piece of writing, what we mean is those issues that are used for this person. Yes, if a person is dead, according to the Sharia, death is there. Can we cut the body and take the parts out? Like author said, yes, you can, which is not a new fatwa. It's not it's just supporting already a fatwa which is given in the Jeddah. It's just so that this author has gone towards that opinion. And for the purpose of justification, this juzi is also used down here. So what we're saying, that was a qiyas mal fasid.
That you can't use this type of analogy.
Why? Down here, we know that there is a life. Okay, and we know that's what Allama Kasani is saying. That is going to be alive, it will be taken out, and we can save somebody's life, which is inside. We can't use the juzi for a deceased person to take his parts out for other live people. Why? Because down here, first of all, is what we're going to do. Are we going to bury this person like this If we don't do that, means we are deliberately taking the life of somebody's own.
So the fetus that's alive, you'd be killing that. If
You're
were to bury
killing
it.
that.
Yeah.
That's number one. That's what we say, okay, cut off. So we are forced to cut that, because if we don't, by delaying, not providing the mean for the life, we are taking it towards. Yes. So it can lead to the qatlul walad through our action. What is our action? Delaying the process of giving a life to someone. Number two, the live person is mahbus. It's captured within that body.
It's trapped within.
It's trapped.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is to cut that trap out, so that trap thing can come out. The features can come out. Yes. So that's the main part down here. So somebody's life is there. If we don't, we're going to deliberately take the life away.
To apply the fact that somebody's trapped.
Trapped.
And try to apply it to a situation.
Who is not a trapped, and he's got his life, and
it's his own actions that have made it.
And that's not important for us to carry out that cure for him, like we said.
Yeah, it's not compulsory.
It's not a compulsory to carry out that cure down here. And then, but down here we've got a life, and we are saving a life which is captured.
Which is trapped in.
Yeah. So over there it can't be argued. Yes, over there people are dying without these organs, and we need these organs for people to keep them alive. Okay. Their organs have been defected. They need a cure. Okay? Do we need a cure for them or not? That's where the main issue comes. Do they need that? Is it compulsory for them to carry out this operation? Today you've got NHS down here. If you're on a waiting list, you can't. What if you go for a private treatment? What's going to happen then? Can anybody afford that? Are we going to do that?
So the fact is that if it was compulsory,
yes,
then why are you on the waiting list in the first place?
Yes.
And that if you really want that organ, you'd go private.
Just because you're on the waiting list, are you telling us that people go and pay for the private? And you've got to do it. And if you don't do it, you're going to be sinful. Okay? So, we live in a society, Maulana Sahab, that we've got committees that after the burial, one committee will take responsibility to bury you. And down there, before the burial, we're taking 1,000 pounds just for the treatment. Which community are we addressing? Can we understand? Do you understand?
Yeah.
A community that has committee system just to bury.
So the system that they can't afford to bury people, that's why they need to get a committee in.
Just, and saying, oh, well, it's compulsory for you to carry out your treatment.
So then that would
Look
mean
at
that they
your
would
ground realities.
They have to spend thousands of pounds.
Thousands of pounds down here.
Get treated.
Yes. So can you see down here that it was a wrong chaos down here. Okay. And that's where the author has tried to use this particular when there's a Shari death, and the parts can be taken out and the body of the deceased person can be cut off. This is the point where we disagree. Even if it's a Shari death and you're cutting the body, take the body, you cannot do that. It's a wrong analogy. And we will go on to the sixth point in reflection. And the sixth point is that ingested property. What it means is that if somebody has taken somebody else's property inside and said, Fuqaha has given allowance that we can cut that person's body out. But still down here, it's somebody else's ownership down here. Those Fuqaha, we can't use that for people who are other people who are ill, and for the storage person, we take their parts out of their body.
So if a person swallows something that belongs to somebody else,
in
the Fuqaha have given limited permission to cut.
Some, not all of them.
Not all of them. Some but the Hanafis, they...
some people have
Fuqaha.
So what we're trying to say, what the author is trying to do is, okay, if the body can be cut for that purpose, then we say that yes, the body can be cut and parts can be taken out for other people, so their organs can be used. That's where the argument is.
And this is once again an example of qiyas done in a wrong manner.
It's a wrong manner. Yeah. So just down here on one juzi, this doesn't much down here for the whole nation that after you are deceased, give allowance, total allowance that your body can be cut and it can be taken out. Especially when you know that there's a chance the body is going to be alive.
Obviously, there's the
Yes.
mortal
yeah.
qalb.
But down here, authors use it for this purpose. Authors using after the Shari death, okay, even if the parts cannot be used. But the thing is, why argue on that basis?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. If it's a Shari death and then you're going to take the house and they can't be used, why bring that issue there? Bring it all doing this qiyas, and which are qiyas ghair sahi, okay, and not clarifying it within the conclusion, which will be discussed down here when you come to the conclusion issue down here. It doesn't make sense. Maybe it may make some people saying it's mudallal. For those people, it may have made sense, but for me, I do not think so. This fatwa doesn't make a sense at all, or this guidance doesn't make a sense. Wallahu alam bisawab.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, Mulana, if we can move on to the 7th issue, inshallah, and then have a look at 8th and 9th one as well. If you
Yes, like we were saying, we were focusing on the content of this scripture. Our reflection is going up to the 7 points. And these 7 points is because there are issues that are mentioned within the piece of writing. So we're going on to page 45. And what it means is that if a person is in a desert, he's got no means of food, he's in the situation of necessity, and there's a deceased person there, can he eat from that deceased to save his life or not?
So, essentially, cannibalism.
Cannibalism
Or anthropophagy.
Anthropophagy. But down here, these terms have been used and they have not been
Explained.
defined. Yes. So we will, when we look at the structure and the way of writing, we will discuss this issue as well. Okay. So
the
cannibalism or anthropophagy, yes, it's, what does the fuqaha say about this? Some of the Hanabila say it's permissible, okay. Majority of the Shawafi say it's permissible, and majority of the Maliki say no, it isn't. And according to them, muftabihi, if the Maliki will say they've got the dispute and ikhtilaf between them, but when it comes to the opinion, they will say no, it's not permissible. So Maliki say no, some Hanabila say yes, Aksar Shawafi say yes. But we have to say, what do the Shawafi say? We have to look at their principle as well. But this is a discussion that's been discussed within other scholars as well. And Hanaf do not allow this.
The Hanafi say no.
Hanafi do not allow.
Okay.
So down here, the author has used this debate down here to prove, yes, in this situation, if, according to the other scholars from other madhab, okay, allow this, then this seems that we can cut the body and take the parts out. Similar answer to this, is it Hanafi Maslak or is it Ghair Hanafi Maslak? So it's Maslak Ghair, isn't it? You're giving a fatwa. You're doing a qiyas of not your own, you're taking the qiyas of somebody else. So basically saying, well, according to the Hanaf you can't do it, or according to the other scholars you can, and if there's a necessity, then we can use somebody else's fatwa, somebody else's from another mazhab. We discussed it before. Is there a need for it? No, it isn't a need. Especially when you got a choice, you can opt out. You can't say, oh, because other people are given, we are using their organs, so we should be able to give them. Who said you should be using them? You discussed that.
You've got to opt out.
You got to
opt out decision.
Yes. Number. And another thing is, if we are opting out, but on the other hand, do we have to carry out the cure?
So is it compulsory?
Is it compulsory?
All links back.
All links back. So it's not about, okay, they are giving it, we have to give out. No, it's not. Everybody else is not giving out. So that's not istirari. That's okay. Our urf is, no, it's against the dignity. It hasn't changed at all. So, according to those principles, that means somebody else, other scholars says, and therefore it allow us to do. So you're not doing a qiyas of your own juziyat, you're taking somebody else's maslak-e ghair, aren't you? You're bringing a maslak-e ghair. So why don't we say, if we want to take somebody else, we'll say, well, according to us we can't, but because we are in a situation of necessity, and we we suggest that at this particular point, we can't give the fatwa on the Hanafi base. Now we are given the fatwa on the Maslak base. The situation would have been different. And we would have not reflected in this manner on this point. Yes,
look at whether it's
yes.
a need
Down
or not.
here, the author has used this ikhtilaf, say, well, if other fuqaha said, yes, you can chop the body and that person can't eat somebody else's part, cannibalism, therefore for us, that means you can cut the body. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's different way. The ikhtilaf is there. It can be used in a different. So the methodology isn't correct. That's where the issue is. So yes, so the fiqh methodology has totally not been applied in a disciplined matter in this cause down here in this situation. So this was our 7 point, and likewise another in methodology where there isn't a stable discipline is the author has used, and this is our 8th point, and where the author argues that yes, human body, can't you harm it, can't you cut it? Yes, in some way you can't cut it. Yes, you can't grievously harm the body. And that is in the situation of when there's a hudud and ta'zir.
So if you can explain that in English.
So what are the hudud? The hududs are those specific type of punishments that are applied within certain conditions, with certain
Rules.
in certain rules, within a certain context, not for everyone, within certain context, though they are called the hudud, and then those which are fixed, and there are tazirat. So basically there's a punishment. That punishment is applied by the Muslim ruler within his own state, within his own vilayat, and it's only for Muslims, not for non-Muslims. It's not a Muslim. So over there are hudud. So it means a body will be harmed with slashes, or life can be taken away, or the qisas. Yes. So in this scenario, in this situation, if these things are happening, says, well, okay, the body is harmed on it because it's happening. So therefore you say you can't harm the body, you can't cut the body. It's not correct, because in some areas you can't do. Why is this a wrong analogy?
So the qiyas that is applied is
Wrong. Because hudud and ta'zir, they are all ghair ma'kul.
So if you can give a bit of explanation.
Ghair ma'kul. Fuqaha say when you do a qiyas, that is going to be maqis alay. Basically, you're looking at something and you're going to pick the elements out, okay, that can be used for similarity in other places. The ruling should be according to the logic, according to the intelligence, aql. So punishments down here are ghair maqul.
So they don't really make sense in terms of logic.
Logic, no. You can't do that. It's a ghair maqul.
So to apply,
you can't apply. It's
in
only over there. That gave the body harm is only in that situation. It cannot be transferred to a different context.
It can only be used that specific.
Only with those conditions.
So doing qiyas and
So
specific
using for the qiyas method an element that is ghair maqul is against the major principles of the qiyas. Yes, what we're saying is, and I think so the author uses, yes, saying that, oh, you can't harm the body. Yes, you can't harm the body in a live person. That's what he said, min bina al fasid al fasid. What I mean, the main concept is fasid, and all the building is, or the foundation is wrong, and all
of the sub.
All the structure is also wrong as well. And where it's been argued is that if you can harm the body in this situation, then you can harm the body in this situation. That's what the argument is. So this issue is discussed. Yes, the hudud and ta'dir, it cannot be used for the purpose of the qiyas. So when we say it's a mudallal, okay,
If you can just give a little bit of what mudallal means, because you used it.
mudallal means you've got an argument and you provided evidence, well argued evidence. It's basically they are reliable type of interpretation. So down here, is it a reliable type of interpretation, or is a misconception, or is a misinterpretation, or
Has he twisted the method of qiyas?
Or a wrong discipline within the methodology of applying the analogy. I know I've used a bit of, but like I say, even when it comes to the Khatmun Nabuwa issue, I try to simplify the issues. I don't want to bring jargons of words down here. We've got awam here, we've got students down here to listen, we've got a range of listeners and readers, and we want to simplify it, try to understand what's happening down here. Hopefully, so this was our
It's the
eighth point down here. So, can you see down here, that is, we've used one word, min bina il fasid al fasid.
So, what we understand from these two issues that you've mentioned, the first one was the pregnant woman example.
It's a qiyas fasid.
It's qiyas fasid.
Not say.
A woman has a baby that's trapped within her.
Yes.
And that you have to cut that person up to save the child that's
Yes.
trapped. And if you were to bury the woman with the
You
child,
can't do that.
you'd be killing a child essentially.
Yes.
But to try apply that to a person who's already dead and you take his organs out, that's qiyas mal
And
farid.
also over there, they are conditioned. You can't just, okay, there's a life there. No. Say, are you going to cut that? And are you sure after the contact process it will be alive? You understand? There are conditions.
There are conditions
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So in that case, to try apply this example, number two was the ingested property
Yes.
example as well. Once again, it's an example of ulama that have given fatwa or given a ruling regarding this, but the Hanafi scholars and the other type of fiqh that he's using, it needed to be declared.
And it should have been, okay, according to us, according to ulama, is like, then we're going. But yes, that has been used for the qiyas. So you're using for the qiyas purpose somebody else's work. Maslak ghair.
Similarly, the cannibalism.
Cannibalism, yes.
Example that according to our fiqh, and even the Malikis, they do not agree with this.
Yes.
But the Shafis and some Hanbali scholars,
Yeah.
they give permission for this. And once again, it's other fiqh that is being used. And then the qisas issue.
Qisas, rajam.
The punishments.
Punishment.
In Islam, the Sharia punishments
Yeah.
that are given in Islam. These actual punishments in terms of logic and in terms of Sharia.
And they are worship.
They are acts of worship.
They are hudud, they are worship, they are ibadah, and they are ghair ma'kul. And they've never ever been used in another place.
So you cannot.
So the harming issue cannot be used as a qiyas.
So to try apply in terms of other
Saying,
people
okay,
harm-
you can harm the body over there, then you can, it doesn't matter if it harms in another place. Yes?
So so these are the issues that we've understood from this.
Yes. And also, what the author is saying, okay, this is the common, you can't do another body. But in this situation, you're doing istisna. This area is exempted. So the qiyas is doing on exempted situations. And said, okay, our issue is also exempted. First of all, it's not exempted at all. And even if it's exempted, you don't use the exempted issue for the purpose of qiyas.
So what we're seeing,
You say, oh, common, and you said, this is the common rule, and out of that, this is exempted. This is mustasna, this is mustasna minu. This is we took on this makhsus, we took on this taksisat. Okay, that we call it this now. And you say, okay, it's not common there, but it can happen. And it can happen like that, it can happen outside there. That's where the wrong qiyas is happening.
So
like a hudud.
for
You
specific
can't
issues-
hurt anybody. Or if the leader is going to hurt a body, that means there are some areas you can't hurt body. And because there are some areas of the body, you can harm in this situation, you can harm in this situation. And who are they? Even hudud. They are live people. They are live people. Okay. And down here we are talking about deceased person.
so in terms of fiqh being used, it's not
And
discipline.
also, just Maulana Sahib, keep, the way we have a bath on a life, how do you have a bath? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to have a bath with the one sa, which is 4 muds. Okay, still a different way. How do we give a bath to a dead person? Different, isn't it? When we are a live person, we have a dalak. Yes, that's also condition. Yes, between the sahibain as well. Yes, we rub the body, we take, awsakh away. Do we do that with the mayyit? No. It's a totally different concept down here. So
the rules that apply to the living
are different. When it comes to respect, there's more respect given to the dead person.
So you have to be twice as.
Yeah. Is the wuzu same of a dead person? No, it isn't. One of the differences, we start the wuzu by washing the hands. If you're washing the dead person, you start with the face. We do the mazmaza. When you like, we take the water inside. But down here, when it's a dead person, you don't do the mazmaza. All you do is get a cotton and try to rub the lips. It's different down there. So there's more respect, okay? You are carrying, you can run. But when you are carrying, that person, do you run? No, you don't run. There's a difference. So when it comes to the principle of respect, they totally change. The whole paradigm changed for the dead person. So if there are so many restrictions, and then we say, no, before doing that, take him to the surgical operation. Allow, yes, one blade to use it and cut it in pieces and take the parts out, just as spare parts. And especially if you know that before that cutting time can happen when the person is alive.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 9th issue, inshallah.
Yes, Mawlana Sahib, we were now, our journey is on the 9th issue within our reflections. The 9th point that is included within our reflection is related to the page 48. And the argument is built on those bases. And those bases are that which is called ahwanul baliyatain, az-zararu yuzal. And what does that mean? It's been argued by the author that there are two situations. One of them is to give a respect. On the other hand, if you give a respect, we've got a harmless. What do? Do we remove the harmless, or do we look at the aspects of respect? Do we take those into consideration, or do we look at those issues that we need to remove the harmless away? So the author is arguing, yes, people need organs of live people. Those people who are living, some people are dependent on those organs. If we don't give those organs, then there's a possibility that these living people will lose their life. Yes? Some needs heart, some needs lungs, some needs kidneys, etc. So we say, okay, we can't take away that person. Why? Because we want to show respect. That's one issue. On the other hand, we take that respect away. And we take the parts out and we give them to the live people. So in this situation, we are removing the harm from the live people away. And we are ignoring and removing the respect from the dead person. So that is one difficulty, removing the respect. And there's also another difficulty, and that difficulty is that alive people can lose their life. Now, comparing both difficulties, which is more severe? To leave the respect, or to allow for live people to pass away, live people so they can be dead and they can early pass away, departure from this world. So that is, if you got two baliyah, then there's a baliyah here, there's a baliyah here. Which is more severe? When they both are compared, they are take the least difficulty. And least difficulty is, okay, let the respect away and give a life to them. Now, this type of answer means, yes, there is a respect for the dead person. Then it will be ahwal baliyah. They want it. If there's going to be no baliyah, no respect, there's no baliyah at all. Correct? So that means the author does accept, yeah, there is a baliyah of removing a respect. You understand?
So just to summarize that,
yes.
If previously he's been writing that cutting out the organs,
And
it doesn't go against human dignity.
yes,
But if he's bringing it here in this example,
yes,
then that means that he does now finally accept
yes.
that you're removing the human dignity.
Dignity.
Yeah.
That's why it can be baliyah. So there's two baliyahs down here. One is that you are removing the dignity. It can't be argued. I will give an answer on behalf of the author. Well, I mean, according to some people, is a dignity. So I will say, so basically through this I'm trying to say, those people who do believe that is a dignity, so if you remove that dignity away and you give a life.
So by bringing this example, is accepting.
Yes, okay. And you give a life which is more harmful, which is more severe. So he said removing it is less, and giving
The
organs, okay, is given a life is better than saying respect the dead person and allow these people to die down here. And the issue down here is, okay, and Same thing, an example is in, yes, the Shawafi said, yes, over there we've got one dead person. Just like the Shawafi said, there's a dead person and it's in a desert. And we've got a live person. If he doesn't eat from that cannibalism, if he doesn't eat from there, then he's going to do life. So what does he do? In that situation, we leave that respect. And we save, this person saves his own life for the purpose of eating. So he eats illa masturritum ilay. So he saved the life. This argument used out here. So first of all, he said, this awan al-baliyatin is based on what? On the maslak shawafi, maslak ghair. The second issue is this a baliya or not? If these people have got problems within their organs, they need to be replaced, they can't be repaired. Where did the issue lie? Is this the baliya or not a baliya? It's still a contested baliya. Is this a difficulty or not? Because we said doing a treatment, is it compulsory or not? And there's still an issue. Okay, doing this medication, replacing, is this a treatment or not? That's still a discussion. Is this a ilaj or not a ilaj? Taking somebody else's pocket, put him in your own. Because you've already cut the body, your organ of stitches. Imagine a person has got diabetes. Can he do that? What's going to happen to his body? It's going to be injured. It's not going to heal. You're doing one thing, you're going to have many side effects. You're removing one problem, you're bringing more problems. Understand? That's what the allopathic type of treatment does. You look for one and it brings a baggage of other problems. So down here, is it a baliya or not? So when it's a doubtful baliya, in this situation, when there's a shock, what do you do?
If there's doubt.
Yes, you leave the doubtful area. You don't go out for that qiyas. So first of all, is it a baliya or not? Number two, is a qiyas on other masla. In this situation, the ihtiyat is, what do? You leave the doubtful away. You don't go for the shock. And when you don't go for the shock, okay, what do? You give the respect, you practice the nusus. So, awanul baliyatain, ad-dararu yuzal, all those issues are there. But they have been, like I said, the methodology of application has not been applied properly down here. So this was our 9th point down here. And I think so, it was a bit of deep. I haven't included all other discussion down here, but that was just one of the explanations down here which needs to be understood down here. And this is one of the major arguments that's why we considered in this scenario.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 10th issue now, inshallah.
Yes, Maulana Sahab, like you said, we are still going on the content of the piece of this writing. And you have described it as a fatwa. Yes, but we are going to see, is it a fatwa or not a fatwa? Okay, so we will discuss those issues, but still we're on the reflection, and it's our 10th point. Down here, there's another wrong analogy, qiyas fasid. Okay, or a fasid induction, put it that sense. And that is, a term is mutilation. And what does that mean? Muthla. So the mass have studied when we said a musla. It means a person has been dead. And after a person is dead, what do we do? What is done is nose of cut off, ears have been cut out, teeth have been taken out, body parts been chopped off. This is called muthla. The actual body of the deceased person has been changed by taking the organs away. This is called mutilation. This is called a muthla. So, and we have this issue mentioned in one of hadith, the Kabila Urayniyin. Yes, Ishrabu min Baliha wa Albaniha. Those who were outside the Madinah to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they were ill, they were given a protection to look of the animals of the sadaqat. And what they did, they rebelled against Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, so they had illnesses, and so long they call them Kubeloni. So what they did with the companions of Rasulullah, similar thing was done with them. So that's the issue of muthla. So the author argues that in Muslim, what do? Is a dead person and parts have been taken out, being cut off. So he said that means that operation of cutting the parts of the body can be done in some cases, as in the situation where the mutilation is. Therefore, if a body is being cut and parts have been taken out, it can be. That's how the qiyas has been done.
So he's trying to apply it to mutilation.
Mutilation. Now, the issue down here is, like we said, is a Muslim a common practice? Not in the common. It's only in certain conditions with those who were Muslims and they rejected the Islam and they did the same thing with the Muslims, and in response to that something has happened. So they're all ghair ma'kul. And they're all punishments. Okay, so those grievously body harm things and happening with it. So is this deceased person as that person who had rejected the Islam and he carried out the Musla while he is alive? Are they both the same? And what is a Musla? Musla is not a common practice. It's mustasna. It's something which is used in exempted situations. Something was used in exempted situations. You say, oh, it can be used for a common. Do you call that a qiyas? It's just, okay, going through the list, okay, you can't do anything but that person, but yes, you can do in this situation. Allah knows the best. Who has used this interpretation for this method? I haven't read thoroughly on the current literature, but it's important. Is this only the first interpretation by the author, or is it by somebody else? That's not been acknowledged. And we do know this within the Muslim literature and the fatwas, which are written in English, majority of them include plagiarism. Somebody else's work not been acknowledged. I'll give you one Shari'ah of Bukhari, and it's been written on a way that is based on principle of usul fiqh. Somebody showed me that Shari'ah. The first page which I picked up from that book, 2 pages, they were exact words of my Ustaz Maulana Sawhar Mahmooza Rahmatullah alayh. Because his book and his takrir and his written wasn't published, it's all just as a photocopy. But so somebody else's work. Word by word was written inside there. So when it comes to shuruhat, there's a lot of plagiarism, especially when it comes to fatwa and English translation. Allah knows the best. So we don't know, is the first interpretation or analogy carried out by this author is somebody else's work, but it's not been referenced. And we can see there are a lot of other people's work. There was another tahrir written by somebody else. It wasn't in English. Whole from beginning to the end was a translation. We need to address this issue. Okay, if something is written in the English, is it a translation or not? Does it involve elements of plagiarism or not? If you had to turn it in, yes, like we have in universities, then it would have been, issues would be different down here. So I'm saying down here that when something is common and some areas is being exempted, they are ghair ma'kul, they are exempted. They cannot be used for the purpose of the qiyas. And that's what happened down here. So the opinion is not new. The Jeddah Fatwa said, okay, deceased people, you can use the part body down here. What's new down here is these qiyasat fasida within this piece of writing, on which we are discussing. And it's an open discussion. Maybe other scholars can hear, and we may translate our discussion in Urdu, and other ulamas may be able to offer their opinion. But it's a question, yes, for those specialist scholars who are broadcasting this, who are saying that yes, it's mudallal. Do you consider this as a qiyas? Or do you not read this issue? Or you have not understood it? Or you think so, no, everything is written down here, then we can promote anything down here. Author hasn't done anything wrong, because he has some ideas, he's presented them, he's opened it, and he's given them towards them. And it was given to the institutes as well. Did they not come across these issues down here? Okay. And it's been informed by the author. The piece of work was given to others, but other people's ideas were not necessarily being included in this piece of writing. So then what was the purpose of sending other people? If you don't allow other people's critique inside. If what the purpose of you allow the people, then it should have been given. And it should have, however, some people have this opinion. The work would have been much better. Yes, and it would have given a well-judged type of piece of writing. Anyway, this was our...
I think it was the 10th issue.
10th.
That was the 10th issue.
Yes, mutilation. And also we...
Move on to the next issue, inshallah.
Yes. And this other, which is the 11th issue. 11th issue. And where the authors brought that changing the creation of a god. Yes. So taghyir khalqillah. It's not absolute. There are conditions like taking, nails out, taking the hair out. Okay, they are. So it can't be used for those type of purposes. But we still say, okay, you're cutting the hair off. Is that cutting like the body? Taking the nails out, is that like cutting a body? Yes, it was it. And there are conditions onto that as well. Yes. So that's why we won't reflect more onto that. But it can be understood from our previous discussions what arguments can be made against that point as well.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If we move on now, inshallah, to the 12th issue.
Yes. So the 11th issue was taghyir khalqillah, changing the creation of the God. Yeah, changing the nose for the different type of purpose, like we said. What was the purpose of bringing these type of things? They said, well, other people have brought this discussion, and that's why the author thinks if other people have brought this within discourse, he has discussed those issues. Yeah, but that's only if there's going to be benefit, then you can't carry out the changes. That's what the argument down here is. So if there is benefit down here, that means you can't do the cutting of the body. Yes, but it's not an open allowance for everything down here. The issue is, it's still, if it can happen to the live person, certainly, islahi badan. Down here, there's no islahi badan.
He's already dead.
He's already dead. It's for islahul ghayr. Yes, so islah li nafsi and islah li ghayri, there's a much difference into that. Yes, and also going through cutting off and going against the cutting of the body. Like we said, one is using the parts. But before the use part, there's a lot of involved. It's cutting the body, taking the part out, restoring them for different purposes. Yes. And is it that
12th issue?
12th issue. That 12th issue is called self-ownership and property rights. Basically, tasarruf. Yes. If it doesn't belong to you, one of the arguments made by ulamas and scholars and the fuqaha that you can't give the property because you don't own them. So author argues down here, yes, in some areas you don't have the ownership, but you can carry out the tasarruf.
The buying and the selling.
Buying and selling and not giving the idea, you can, okay. So just saying, okay, you don't own it, you can't do any type of tasarruf, that's not, okay. So same thing down here, what we're trying to do, okay, in those scenarios, you can't carry out, you don't own it, but you can't carry out. Are they common or are they specific? They are specific. And they are exempted situation. Are you using it for the qiyas? Same thing, don't it? Yes. Now let's come. You do not own those parts. How can you give something what you don't own? Somebody said, okay, you don't own them, but we are using them. This body is owned by Allah, so we're taking out from one thing which is owned by Allah and utilizing them in another thing that is owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this argument is made by scholars that yes, it can be used. However, our scholars deny because we do not own it. If you do not own it, you can't carry out the tasarruf. I will further argue on this point. When we say we are donating, the question is, who is the donator? Is it the deceased person or is it the inheritors? If it's a deceased person, obviously while he's dead,
he can't give permission.
He can't, so he's doing it while he's alive. So if he's saying something that I have passed away, then you can carry out. So while he's alive, so that's his will. So when he's dead, he's not the ahl of doing the tasarruf.
So if he was to
can't carry on transaction because
do it while he was alive, then that would become his will.
That is just a will.
That's his will. Yeah.
So if you're saying that this donation is done, who is donated, who's that tasarruf is being given by? If you say done by the dead person, it can't, because he's dead. And when is dead person, anything, his tasarruf cannot be applied because he's not ahl. He needs to be ahliyat for the tasarruf. Even as a child, can he carry out all the transactions? No, he's not ahl.
If you can just explain ahl in English.
So ahl is that you need to have the conditions that you can carry out. So you need intelligence, you need to be alive.
So the main
Then your word will come into action. So there is no word for him. He is not a ahl. You need a life. He is not a ahl. And what he said was during his life. That was only a will. The will cannot come into the action. Tasarruf. So he is not doing the tasarruf. He is not donating. That's what we're trying to say down here. He cannot be a donator.
Yeah.
He has written about to give the donor. But actually, when saying he is a donator, he's not a donator. So okay. And if you do say yes, it's from the inheritors. They cannot carry out the tasarruf in his wealth, never mind his body. So you can't, a deceased person, no one can be classified as a donator, according to the Sharia.
Just to expand on the inheritor thing.
Yes.
So in Sharia we say that according to however much they are entitled to, they should get that.
They get that.
So they can't mess around with that.
There's a fixed model
amount
for that. Yes.
So if they can't,
fixed steps that you need to carry out.
so if they can't do it with his wealth, and then fixed steps are set, how can they apply that to the dead person?
With the body, you cannot do anything.
You can't do anything then.
Even with the janazah, you can't put your own force in. And there's are restrictions. Never mind. So inheritors cannot be donators. Mayyit cannot be donators. Mayyit cannot own anything. He can't give ownership to anyone. There's only one situation where the Mayyit can take the ownership. He can become an owner. That's only one situation. Besides that, he can't pass on the ownership. This includes allowance as well, ibahat. Now it can be again, or is not given the ownership. Is allowing that his parts can be used. Is allowing those parts can be used. That's called ibahat. You know, there's a tamliq and there's a ibahat. There's a food, I give it to you, Mullah, take it. This is tamliq. And they say, Mullah, come and eat. So you're allowed to, this is ibahat. So the donation, whether giving the ownership or giving allowance to use those, because both of these transactions cannot exist from the deceased person nor from the inheritors. So the concept of donation cannot exist down here. And like we said, the question, all these qiyas, where are they used? It is something common and something being exempted, and from there we are using those qiyas to allow. And obviously they are all wujuhat fasida. They are qiyasat ghair sahih.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 13th issue, inshallah.
Yes, we've looked through the milkiyat and the tasarruf issue, self-ownership and property rights. Now we're going to the sadd al-lizrai. What does sadd al-lizrai mean? Something is happening and we say, well, you can't do this because this will lead to negative impact.
So negative consequences later on.
Negative consequences can occur. So we say, don't do this. So it's a preventative type of theory happening down here. So don't do this because this can lead to this, and all these things are not allowed. Therefore, don't do this. We call this sadd al-zarai. Yeah, to stop it. Yeah, to stop the pathway, close the pathway, close the gate, so it doesn't happen.
So blocking the means, isn't it?
Blocking the means.
And this is an usul in fiqh.
So down here, what the author has discussed the issue sadd al-zarai. Now keep in mind, Mufti Muhammad Shafi Sahib has written on this organ transplantation. And he said, well, it's not allowed. Why? Because this will lead to human dignity. It will allow people's respect. It will allow people to buy and sell. They will become al-badila. So that's why for the preventative type of action, they said we cannot allow this because it's gonna
lead to negative
things. So something you don't do it. Why? Because the outcome is going to be negative. So we said don't do this. We call this saddan lizra, to stop as the means. We don't give a pathway. We don't give a route.
So you're blocking the route.
We're blocking the route. That's called. So that's one of the reasons Mufti Shafi Sahib Rahimahullah Ta'ala has used.
And he's the father of Mufti Taqi.
Father Mufti, great first, Mufti,
And he's written Marif al-Quran.
Marif al-Quran.
So very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable. And he was also the Rais Mufti in Darul Deoband as well. And when the birth of Pakistan happened, they migrated towards the Karachi. Yeah? So this is the discussion of Mufti Muhammad Shafi Sahib Rahimahullah Ta'ala. So the author of a Sunni opinion organ transplantation has brought this issue. He said, well, I'm bringing this discussion Saddan Lizarai because other people have discussed it, where he hasn't explained who has brought it and why. So we just want to make clear it's a discussion given by Mufti Muhammad Shafi Sahib Rahmatullah. The author argues that, first of all, that this is not a principle according to the Ahnaf.
This is not an usul fiqh principle.
This is not a principle between the fuqaha. And he hasn't given an evidence.
As to why this isn't.
What does he mean by that? Is it that somebody else said? Or is it that the author hasn't found it in the books on those bases? So he hasn't clarified his statement. Later on, he does argue, yes, it is an usul within, and it is within the other fiqhs, like the Malikiya, yes, and other scholars, yes. So what we're trying to explain down here, Maulana Sahib, is that the first part contradicts the other part.
So he said that there's no Sadd al-Lizarai.
Yes.
But then he's given examples.
No evidence for that.
No evidence for that.
Yes.
And then at the same time he's saying that the Malikiya
is an usul there. Now, yes, wala taqrabu zina. Do not go close to zina. Fornication. So we say don't do the fondling. No kissing. Yeah, with a ghair mahram. Because la taqrabu zina is Sadd al-Lizarai. Because that is going to lead to the zina. Yes.
So this is clearly found in the Quran.
Well, Fuqaha has used it. Okay. So all these usul, az-zarar yuzal, al-yaqin la yazul bishar, they are not the actual principles there. They have been interpreted from the different juziyas by the Fuqaha. It wasn't that Imam Abu Hanifa had this usul there. He had this there and then he's applying like this. They are all deducted from the Masail, from the theologies. That's where the misunderstanding by the author is down here. So that means Mufti Shafi Sahib Rahimahullah Ta'ala Sadd al-Lazir was a wrong method that has been used, or we don't know. Yes, but this discussion has been brought down here. So first of all, there's a contradiction at the beginning, at the end part. Secondly, there's no evidence on it. And thirdly, it's against the fathers of the Hanaf, because they all mention Sadd al-Lizarai in other issues as well. I can give an example. Yes. So you say, so this is another point that we have to reflect, and we offered our evaluation on this point down here.
So we've been discussing Sadd al-Lizarai.
Yes.
So are there any other points that?
Yes. First of all, like we said, that the author suggests that Sadd al-Lizarai is not a principle at all. It's not a complete principle, but no evidence was given. And then the issues, then evidence was given, yes, it is a principle. Yes. So first say it's not a principle, then say yes, it's the principle. Then it outlines, according to Malikiya, it's a contested principle. People have got different opinions. Yes. So can you see down here? It's not clear. So we've discussed that in our discussion, that Yes, according to Hanaf, it has been used, and Mufti Shafi Sahib. So basically, author cannot clearly say, we can't use Sadil Azhar because obviously it goes against the great Muftis. But that type of discussion has been brought for this purpose. What is the benefit out of this discussion? So the benefit of discussion is that they say, well, in this country, it's not going to lead to negative consequences. So if people do not opt out and they allow, it's not going to lead to negative because people's parts are not going to be sold, they're going to be destroyed by the government, they will be used by the people. We should say, yes, they can be negative, yes, because parts can go less, there can be more demand. Who said that one person is going to use the part once? He may use it many times. So the more parts are being used, still they're going to go less contents. And there will be a market for the parts. People can go. So there will be an open market within the UK and also within the European countries. Yes? Over there, it was argued that it can be exploitation of poor people. So rich people will take out and they will take out people from, so it can lead to exploitation of poor. And down here, it can't happen. But down here, it can happen. And that is that it can have an open market. It can lead to an open market. People can travel out to other areas. Okay? So globally, there can be market for these organs. So global market, just like we order parts from and things from China and here and there, it can lead to a global market of organs.
So there's like a market of medicine anyway.
Yes.
In terms of other medicines.
Other medicine is a treatment.
Yeah, massive market in that.
Yes.
And big companies do benefit.
Yes. So saying Sadal is right, it's not going to happen. Yes, poor people are not going to be exploited. That is just not. It's not a valid point that is going to be created down here.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 14th issue, inshallah.
Yes, the 14th issue is, we'll quickly go through this and then we'll go on to the 15th point as well. That if a person is using somebody else's, there are conditions like only if there's a necessity need, there's going to be no harm or it's very less harm, and we know there's going to be benefit, gaining the benefits with certainty, and also a person gives his own will with a respect, then you can give or you can take. All these conditions are there, but there's no evidence. Why are we applying? Why is it not absolute? Why are these conditions are there for?
So he hasn't given evidence for these.
Yes. So, as on based on organ transplantation, those conditions have been applied, but they are not verified because they're not referenced, and a rationale has not been provided for these conditions. So that's another area, and why we have brought this point into, maybe other writers or other people who will come to these conditions, they can extend on these points down here which we have discussed. And the 15th point and the 15th point is that the author does allow organ transplantation from a deceased person with conditions. That's where we have been disagreeing. And that is if there's only a Shari Mayyit, if he's deceased. Okay? And he's given the permission. The question said is, whose permission?
And we discussed that before.
So Shari Mayyit does not apply down here.
Yeah.
And the second is with the conditions. Yes? And yes, and all these have been sacrificed. Okay? So now this isn't a new, now the other interpretation down here from the people who are broadcasting this issue, that is a new opinion. Well, but again, this is not a new opinion. There's nothing new down here. It may be a new opinion from this author, but the actual opinion is not new. Yes, Majal Fiqh al-Islami have already said this before. So, it's like if we do say that it's a new opinion, no, it's not a new opinion. There's nothing new down here. It's already happened. It's already been said. It's already been written. It's already been given this allowance.
After Shari'ah death.
After Shari'ah death. So, the point within within reflection is that the interpretation of this piece of writing is that something new has been appeared here. We're saying this is not a new opinion, it already exists. Yes. Nonetheless, the new issue that has been raised and it should be extended is that within the UK, the method that is used to define a dead person isn't the Sharia death. Much emphasis needs to be given on this point. This has not been clarified within the conclusion, nor within the writing. Additionally, with those who have read this and scrutinizing scholars have not touched on this point.
And we would probably want the NHS to read this point too, that in the way that Sharia.
Well, whether it's NHS or someone else down here, we're not down here saying, okay, change your definition down here. It's okay. That is still, there are discussions even on that as well. But we were just saying, it's just try to bring these arguments down here. It's not to put down somebody's. It's like to highlight these points, and it gives other writers, other readers, other think tankers to think about these issues and to simplify these theologies that exist down here.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 16th point, inshallah.
And yes, 16 point is reflection, and it's mainly related to the area of conclusion, which we'll separate. And basically, what we're saying, the issue down here, what we have is it that can people give organs from the deceased person? That's not the issue. That's not the issue down here. We've got an option to opt out. The main issue for us to focus in this country is many people's organs will be taken out after it becomes compulsory if they have not opted out. Is that correct? So that means that they haven't given a consent, but because they didn't opt out, it's called implied consent. That will be considered as a consent, and the part will be taken out. The main question is, because they haven't given the consent, either they didn't know, they were not aware of it. For them not to know, will they be sinful or not? Not having the knowledge, not jahal, can that be reason for their being as a mazur or not? So issue is implied consent, where person hasn't declared to be opt out. He's gone in a silent moment and he's passed away and his parts will be taken out. There's a sinful act going happening. For us, ulama and the fuqaha, is to focus for them not to have the knowledge of this. Will that be considered? Can that be considered an excuse or not? Is it going to be an al-adharul mubiha or not? Because they have been used without his clarified consent. So there's an implied consent that has been applied. And it's not been asked. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. So those people who have not opted out and their partner taken, are they going to be sinful or not?
And that's going to happen from 2020.
Yes. So is and that's what we need to focus on, whether they will be considered an excused person or not. And if they are considered an excused, not a considered excused person, then it's a duty on the ulama to create awareness to their audience that, listen, if you don't, you are going to be sinful. So make sure you do opt out. For you not to have a knowledge is not be considered as an excuse. It depends how much knowledge people are going to have. We have outsiders, we have all livers down here, all settlers. We have to carry out all these excuses. Not having this knowledge, can that be considered as an excuse or not? We have to focus on to that. That is the main issue. And these issues have not been discussed at the moment.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On to the 17th issue, inshallah.
Yes, now this is an overall reflection on the 17th point. And that is not related to actually a Sunni opinion on organ transplantation. It's an overall view that we want to discuss down here. And the question arises, okay, like we said in our first clips, that all the Hanaf state organ transplantation is not allowed. Deceased person bodies cannot be cut out into pieces and parts cannot be taken out. Yes. Ghair Ahnaf, some Ghair Ahnaf do allow it. Now the question is, okay, shall we say that Ahnaf should have an opinion, so we can have a unanimous opinion, so we can remove the ikhtilaf of Ummah. So it can be a one unanimous opinion. Shall we make an attempt towards this effort or not? And on this, I will suggest, well, if there's going to be a different opinion, that is the rahmah for the ummah. To remove or create a unanimous, that is removing the rahmah of the ummah. Why? Just like other example is, we've got an issue within the alcohol. Other ulamas have got different, and I've got a different opinion. When we use it in medicines, in perfumes, we've got a different opinion, different ways. If that allowance wasn't given from the Ahnaf, it would have been very difficult. Same thing down here. When there's a difference in their opinion, it is helpful and a mercy for the whole ummah. Yes, especially when the whole community still considers cutting the body of a deceased person is not desirable at all. How can it be desirable? When the Quran said, "Ayuhibbu ahadukum an yakula lahma akhihi maytan fakarihtumu wattaqullah." It's used for the purpose of ghiba, backbiting. Well, what is mushabba bi? You want to eat the flesh of your brother who is dead? That means the flesh of your brother in any circumstances to eat is not a desirable. So to use his parts is also a modern way of eating parts. Yes, eating is swallowing them down. Down here you don't swallow them, you just straight away put them inside here. You're using these parts, you're using the body. Yes. So, and also it's preventing as well, for the preventative purpose, especially when the whole society does agree that it's against the dignity. And if it's allowed unanimously, it can't be such an end. Why do we have to give parts to other people? Let's cut our own bodies and save everything like we do in the Qurbani. Yeah, cut the animal, save everything in our fridge. So if the parts can't be used and we cut off, then why should we give them to store for other people? Maybe from the family may need them. Where are we going to go? Let's store them. How is that going to be? Ethics. Is that ethically something good to do? So we have ethical issues as well. Yes? Also, what it will lead to, okay, if it's allowed that, individual people's parts are going to be stored, you know what's going to happen? Whose part shall we use? Shall we use them from this nation, shall we use them from this nation? So the parts will be assessed. How much life can you get from this organ?
Or from these type of people?
From this type of people. Nowadays, Muslims claim that we've got a cure for the heart. Spiritual. Yeah? We've got a spiritual solution for the heart. But if you look at the Muslim population, they are the ones that got the most heart diseases. So obviously, it's one nation, their hearts are very, their parts are very useful. They'll be assessed. So, okay, don't take this part. Yes, just like in a spare parts, don't take this part and buy this part and that. So is that something respectful? It's not a matter of, okay, using somebody's part down here. It's a matter, which part shall I use? Yes, which organ shall I use? And from whom shall I use? So these things are going to be the future research, future focuses down here. Now we've got the issue, can we cut the body and take the parts out? Next issue is, shall we carry out the assessment? Okay, this belongs to this family, and the history of this family, they love this much, from this nation, from this tribe, from this type of people, from their background. Yes? And Muslims are, and if you come like that, then the worst issues are going to for the Muslim, because down here we've been having meetings, yes, on hard foundation, and the purpose down here is to how can we protect our bodies and protect our organs. And also, when we're going to take the parts out, which parts are we going to take out? All the major parts: heart, lungs, pancreas, liver, everything. If we take everything, what's left inside? That means, yes, just to cover with the cotton, yeah, the skin, that's what's left, and the face left. Everything going to out. Yes. And it's compulsory. Every part of the body needs to go back to the earth. What are we going to do? We're just going to give the skin to the earth. So we say, okay, outer parts, leave them there. It may lead to a musla. Let's take the eyes out as well. You need a musla. Yes? And if there's a war going on, you say, okay, take the ears out as well. Nose out. Things can happen. Yes? Teeth can be taken out. So can you see where it can lead to? Where they can, at the moment we're just discussing these type of issues that we can take things out down here. Especially when the society still considers that this is against the dignity. Okay? So that's why for the Ahnaf unanimously saying, yes, you cannot cut the body off. It's the rahmah for the ummah. Do not pressurize. Do not pressurize the Ahnaf. Why are you not doing that? People are blaming and say, yes, that's our values. That is based on the fiqh issue down here. And it's also argued that this issue down here is for the UK. But the title doesn't say it's the UK. And also, well, within this country, there's not going to be against the dignity at all, because people are not going to sell, people are protected. That's another argument that has been raised down here. It may not be down here, but these people can't travel outside because of the fatwa, because of the opinion. You might say, okay, we can't do it. Let's go outside, let's sell our bodies, let's sell our parts. Or we can buy parts from other countries, from other people, travel the countries, buy somebody parts. The buying and selling and trading. Before it was slavery trade, then it will become organ trading will come into practice, which is already happening. Organ trading is already happening. So Ahnaf fatwa, Ahnaf Unanimous League is a preventative method towards organ trading. That's why I call it the unanimity when Ahnaf say you're not allowed. Is a rahmah, praise for that. Don't say, oh, there's well written writing and these are all traditional ulamas. They are background and they have not understood. Yes. We live in a way that where slave trade is considered an evil act. On the other hand, we want progression and modernism in our lives, allowing organ trading, going against the social norms of a respect.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, Alhamdulillah, we managed to discuss quite a few issues, and we looked quite deeply into most of the issues that we discussed. If you can now talk about the structure, inshallah.
Yes, regarding the structure of this piece of writing, is that first of all, the author starts his discussion by offering an executive summary, which goes over 17 pages, and within that he compares with other fatwas. So, and that executive summary, 17 pages, 111 pages, which is left 96 pages, and that's which is about 17%. So, executive summary, as of the whole writing, is 17%. It's a question. Secondly, the writing includes footnotes right at the beginning, which are all references, which are direct quotations. So the meaning the actual words are half of what's there.
So the way he writes his
so the
writing,
whole page, 111 pages, 96 pages. So that's the layout. So you've got footnotes, direct quotations, right at the bottom on top writing.
Right.
So top writing. So if you divide it, so that means
Hmm.
the executive summary is
Right.
almost,
So like this. in the
yes,
way.
yes. So almost, yes. So can you see now, that's the writing and these are the footnotes. So
You've
can you
got
see
lots of-
1/3 of a page?
Even that one there.
Yes. So down here, you've got very less. You've got 3/4 of a page of direct quotations, and only you've got top writing down here.
And that's in Arabic as well.
That's also in Arabic. So basically, what we're saying, the executive summary is almost near to 2/3 of the whole writing. So that's a question mark down here. And it also, executive summary only discusses comparative issues down here and the main major points. Then the writing just goes onto these qiyasats, which we've looked at 18 points. That's how the writing is built with others. So that's what's in the structure and how it's been. The areas of this writing that require some improvements. For example, there's no abstract, there's no appendices down here. Basically, where the work has been taken out or the people's been acknowledged, there's no appendices. There's no bibliography. Okay, and there's terminology, jargon of terminology has been used. They have not been defined. And an academic type of work does include definition. It's not been referenced whose work has been taken out. Yes, and where the direct quotations are, the only direct quotations that are in the footnotes, and therefore the resources and also the majority of it becomes like a code conducted script, because if the only terminologies are there and they have been defined where it's been expected to it's only to the reader, so there's a distraction for the reader. The question is it written for common or is it written for only for medical doctors?
So it's quite difficult. Read.
If it's written for medical doctors, still, according to academic type of writing, it needs to be verified and reliable. So not having these elements creates a question of reliability and validity. Additionally, there are concerns. If an individual is working in a house, there are issues of impartiality. So those issues have not been addressed. So objectivity is another element down here. And again, there are issues which contradicts with each other, where goes against the opinion. And certainly when an interview is being offered by the author, surely it does not match the actual writing. And focus within the interview was only on whether the deceased person gains the pain or it doesn't gain the pain. So these are the issues regarding the structural approach of this piece of writing.
Just to discuss some of the things that you mentioned in the structure, in regards to not having an appendix, he mentioned a few things to do with the council, and he's labelled it Appendix 1. So if you can have a look.
Yes, there's 3 appendix, Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix 3, and they are referred to the fatwas.
Right.
What we're saying, it's used medical terms, it's used explanation of medical people and from other researches. They have not been included. So that's what we say, the appendix are only within the fatwas.
Right.
And there are medical issues that have been discussed down here. They are no reference at all. That's not been brought into down here. And it's been acknowledged that yes, he has been working with other people as well, and doctors, and their work has been included down here. So that isn't, it's not been acknowledged or it's not been added at the end.
In regards to some of the things that he's mentioned in his conclusions, so for example, he's mentioned terms like DCD, the fact that after DCD, which is the circulatory death, or even the maut al-dimagh, the brain death.
Like we said, it's all a code conducted type of scripture. It's not been explained. And like I said, who is it written for? So if it's for the common, even for medical, yes, So things have not been
Made clear.
and that's why majority of the readers have not came across this, and they found it difficult to interpret.
Now, in our discussions we talked about Shari'ah death. The term Shari'ah death hadn't been used in the conclusions, and he uses the term like, I'll just do a direct quotation. He says, organ donation after DCDD, which is circulatory determination of death, is permissible provided the point of elective irreversibility has lapsed.
Yes.
Now, obviously we understand that as in terms of Shari'ah death, but the fact that you can't use the organs after Shari'ah death, I mean, why would there be need to mention something like this, or an organ donation fatwa, but then mention that after Shari'ah death that you can use the organs, but at that point you can't actually use the organs because they're useless.
Yes. So our other field of reflection is the conclusion. Like we've looked at the content, we looked at the structure, and on the conclusion is that it doesn't differ between using the organs and coiling the body. Number two, the subject has became complex, where in this country the Shari'ah death isn't applied, and that's not being informed clearly that don't allow organs to be taken out in this situation. Thirdly, the Shari'ah death is only, the fatwa is, or this discussion is only when it is allowed, is in the Shari'ah death, and this doesn't happen here. So the conclusion, and like we said, there are issues within the title that it aims to provide a solution for the UK, but the title doesn't reflect. Conclusion doesn't say.
The conclusion doesn't.
And it's like for the whole. That's why we are discussing for the whole ummah. Okay, and the issues that are linked. Okay, it will not happen within the UK, and so that's why we call it khalte mabhath. Yeah, the main areas have been merged with each other, and therefore it becomes difficult for the interpreters and readers to come to this conclusion. So the findings, put in that sense, the findings of this piece of work doesn't crystal clear, nor by the clarification that has been made by the author. Hopefully, the author will come onto a concrete explanation of the final conclusion. And for this reason, we looked at the content, we've looked at the structure, we looked at the conclusion. I have a question on this that could be called as a fatwa. No, it's a discussion of other fatwas. Yes, it's a discussion of other fatwas, because a fatwa is a personal opinion based on findings where you
actually make a decision.
So it's a discussion on all fatwas and a couple of questions where the author has, for example, going against us at the desire, where he expresses questions. Opinion, if it's not clear, okay, it's that you do this or you don't do this. So it's a whole discourse. We cannot call it a literature review. So I cannot call it a literature review part of a piece of a work in a modern way that's writing. I can't call it a review or literature review or a review on a report. So it's a bit difficult. Yes, we have another term which is called a fatwa. Fatwa is where there is a question, or not a question, you write an opinion, where opinion is obfuscated. Then it's difficult to understand. That's why we have just reflected on the discussion issue, and we've gone through each particular point, and we have
when you are writing a fatwa,
yes,
how important is it to make sure that the qiyas that you use is on point and it's according to the rules and it's disciplined?
Well, sometimes there's a new issue needs to be discussed, okay, where, and they are given a title, okay, and a claim has been made and they're trying to prove that. Okay, and then the final opinion is given. Okay, so that's how new writings do develop and now creating. Down here, it doesn't happen like this. If the author started that, ulama suggest you can agree, and I argue that parts of body can be taken out for this reason, for this reason, for this reason, for this reason, then it would have been difficult. But that's not the case. Down there, it's just a discussion with other fatwas. They have said this, they have said this, this have said this. Down here, it can be interpreted, and it's not linked to the main purpose, what needs to be discussed down here. Therefore, it's important that we clarify our position, and that is opt out. Do not give your organs. Yes,